I would like to invite Dr. B. Augustin Gerard. He is from AICRP PC cell on palms and ICAR CPR CRI Kasargod. I would quickly introduce sir to you. Over 25 years of research experience in Kerala, Karnataka, Lakshadweep, Andaman, and Nicobar Islands and Fiji in coconut, aeronut, and other crops. Uh, he did a lot of developed a lot of production technologies and product diversification. His research papers have been published in more than 250 international and national journals and have 4 patents. He won many awards and honors such as Dr. C.S. Venkataram Memorial Award by Indian Society for Plantation Crops during the biennium 2015 and 16. And he is a vice president of Indian Society of Plantation Crop from 2019 to 2021. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. And on behalf of him, due to some technical issue, he is not available with us. So, on behalf of him, Dr. Sumita, he is also from the AICRP on farms. So, she will deliver the session to you. The session is over to you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So, good afternoon, all. Now, I'm going to present in processing and value addition of Palmyra. What make the Palmyra tree most special? Gandhiji has told Palmyra as an antidote to poverty, and it is a natural resources of India. It is not a cultivated crop. It is mainly sparely distributed here and there, and it is mainly grown in the marginal lands and in rice buns. And if you see, there is no commercial orchards of Palmyra is found, and Palmyra has a very more than 800 uses. From root to stem, it gives more than more products. When you see a Palmyra tree, it gives about 180 liters of Neera, 25 kg of palm jaggery, 100 kg of firewood, and 20 kg of palm fiber. When you see the export potential, the Palmyra industry is unstructured, but it has a sizable commercial volume. It is exported to mainly United States, and products such as Kalkandu and some indigenous musical instruments, natural fiber, jaggery, Palmyra tuber floor, Palmyra sprout, Palmyra candy, and Palmyra brushes are mainly exported to Sri Lanka, United States, United Kingdom, Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Bangladesh, from India.
The pre-IRC meeting of the Institute shall be held in DJ Hall 3 p.m. under the chairmanship of the director. All the scientists are requested to assemble for the meeting on time.
Sorry for the interruption. Next, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research has started this taken this Poorman crop as one of the mandate crop of ACRP farms, which is ACRP farms of total 28 centers, which is covering 14 states. When we see about the ACRP centers which deals with Palmyra, we have 4 centers. One is at Kiligulam, Tamil Nadu, Pantrimamadi, Andhra Pradesh. These are the centers started in 1995, mainly focusing on collection and conservation of Palmyra germplasm. And recently, we have started in Telangana and Bihar, 2017, mainly to conserve
the pre-IRC meeting of the Institute shall be held in DJ Hall at 3 p.m. under the chairmanship of the director. All the scientists are requested to assemble for the meeting on time. Thank you.
These are the centers which works on Palmyra. When you see the botany of Palmyra, this crop belongs to the family Ericaceae. It has 5 species and it is native to tropical and South and Southeast Asia. Among the 5 species in India, India and Sri Lanka, we can see the Borosus fabulifera's. This species is widely adopted. It is a deciduous palm. In India, it is mainly seen in the coastal belt, agriculture margin, wastelands, and secondary forest. It is mainly seen in the states of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh. When you see the products which is obtained from Palmyra, it can be classified into 2 types, that is edible and non-edible products. In edible products, there are 4 different types. Sap-based product, fruit-based product, pulp-based product, and tuber-based product. In sap-based product is mainly from this inflorescence. It is also classified into 2 types, non-fermented and fermented product. Non-fermented product like Neera, jaggery, palm sugars can be extracted, and fermented product mainly toddy. And non-edible product, when you see, it is mainly again of timber-based product, leaf-based product, and fiber-based product. This is the pictorial chart of different product obtained from Palmyra. More than 800 products can be obtained from Palmyra tree. What the value addition in Palmera? Palmera is a seasonal crops. It's flower only during a particular month, and flowering is happen only particular months. And the main products of value added product can be done in Nira, Palmera jaggery, Palmera tuber based product, and tender nut, that is Nongu. Why we need post-harvest management in Palmera? The product like Nongu, Nira, and tuber are highly perishable, so it is tend to spoilages. And this is the only crop where the post-harvest handling and value addition is not standardized yet. And we see the primary factors. The Palmera tree can grow up to height of 30 meters high. So harvesting is a very difficult. So there can be a mechanical injuries. And physiology of the crop is not studied full. So the physiological changes in pathogen infection may be there. And environmental factors such as temperature and humidity play major roles in the post-harvest losses of the Palmera. So one of the main product is jaggery. It's prepared from Palmera. 5 to 10% of jaggery is spoiled every year during the monsoon months because due to the presence of inverted sugars and mineral salts. So in the coastal region where the temperature and the humidity and rainfall high, the Palmera jaggery is tend to spoil very fast. Tapping. Nira is mainly done for tapping. Tapping is done in the early morning or late evening by inserting the inflorescence to the earthen pot. The sap yield of palm can varies from palm to palm, mainly due to tapping method, tapper skill, and season to season and geographical location. Generally, in tapping, there are two types of tapping, that is destructive and non-destructive tappings are done. When you see the destructive tapping, it is done by slicing the stem or by puncturing the palm tree. It may lead to death of the palm or damage to the embryonic tissues. In the among the Palmera species, the Borosius ethiopium is mainly done by destructive tapping method. Whereas the non-destructive tapping method is mainly tapping on stalk, stem, and unopened flower bud by pre-treatment like beating the stalk to trigger to flow. Where the other species like Borosius fabulifera and Achiensis is mainly done through non-destructive tapping method. When you see the overall species in Palmera distributed all around the world, this African palm tapping is done in the palm heart, where in the Achiensis it is tapping is done in the stem below the terminal bud, and in Fabulifera it is the inflorescence. The sap yield per palm per day ranges from 0.5 to 10 liters. And age of first sap harvesting, because this Palmera is a slow growing crop, it is a flower only 15 to 20 years after planting. Then only we can know whether it is a male tree or a female tree. So the tapping is done only after the first inflorescence is emerged. So as I told, Palmera is a dioecious plant. It is male and female are separate. Only during the flowering season we can identify it is whether it's a male palm or a female palm. Male palm is mainly used for Nira tapping, and female palm is mainly used for Nira tapping, fruits, and also for tuber productions. This is the tapping method. You can see this is the female inflorescence. This is the male inflorescence, and this is the fruit. The female inflorescence starts from October to January. It is a seasonal, where the male, and the female inflorescence starts from February to March. And fruit season is normally seen from July to September. So it takes 120 days from the pollination to fruit set. This is a traditional Nira collection method. This is mostly all the people practice this, that lime added method. And this is the Nira collection by CPCRA method, that is where the Nira, you can see it is clear in appearance and it is hygienic also. This is the cool box technology for Nira collections. And this is a comparison of coconut and Palmera Nira. The pH is also 7. Almost all the characters are almost equal to the coconut Nira nutrient composition. This is a flowchart of Nira processing from collection to package. Preservation technique mainly done through commercial lime or pasteurization and with sodium benzoate to enhance the quality of Nira. And Palmera fruit. The female tree gives the Palmera fruits, which mostly there are 6 to 12 bunches and about 50 fruits per tree. Approximately a tree can yield about 350 fruits, but there is a huge wastage of the fruit because the palm is also not cultivated commercially. This is sparsely located here and there. It is difficult for us to collect the fruit, but it is a good source of pectin, which is a value-added ingredients can be prepared from the Palmera fruit. When you take the whole Palmera tree, It is a biochemical factory. So many products can be prepared, such as cellulose, lignin, polyphenols, hemicellulose, fabuliferins, pectin can be all extracted from this fruit, and it is a good source for other chemical product also. The Nira-based product. There are so many Nira-based product can be prepared. First one is palm syrup, palm jaggery powder and palm jaggery, chocolates, palm sugar and sugar-based product, and palm candy. This is from a Nira. You can see Nira to jaggery, jaggery to jaggery powder, and chocolate can be prepared. And this is syrup. It is mainly this product developed at YSR Pantrima Medi Center. Jaggery culture or palm honey. Then again, palm vinegar can also be prepared. Dark chocolate with palm jaggery or jaggery powder is also prepared and it's commercially available. Dark chocolates and jaggery preparation, jaggery and sugar preparation. And this is the traditional method of jaggery preparation by farmers, where it is collected with the with lime coated pot, where the nira is collected and jaggery is prepared. Other product from Palmyra. There are so many other product can be also done. That is tuber. Tuber is mainly rich in carbohydrates and fibers, and it is you can see during the Pongal or Pongal season, these tubers are available in market. They were sold for 1 or 2 rupees, and it takes a minimum of 135 days from sowing to harvest, and it is rich in nutritions. This tuber is then this Palmyra tubers are cut into pieces, dried, and it is made to tuber flour. This tuber flour can made in variety of products like idli, biscuits, noodles, pasta, laddu, cake. So many products can be prepared from this tuber flour. Next is the endosperm, that is nongo. It is commercially available in the market during the month of summer. It is jelly-like endosperm of young fruit of 60 to 70 days old, and it is very nutritive and it is very coolant. This is some of the nongo-based product prepared. Then fruit. This fruit gives sweet aroma and flesh mesocarp. This is fruits either is roasted or consumed or mixed with flour and baked into flakes. This is the pulp extracted, and from the fruit also we can extract fiber, which is useful in many other industrial products. This is pulp-based product. Then leaf sheath. Palmyra leaf sheath is have more commercial value for making of brushes, and it is also more export potential. It is it is exported to most of the foreign countries. Brush and brooms. These are some of the brush products. And apart from this, the leaf or sheath, again, it can be made into many commercially available container or utility products. Some of the storage baskets for making fences. And even you can print that visiting card using this Palmyra products. And current research program under ACRP PALM, we mainly focus on collection, conservation, and evaluation of Palmyra germplasm, and standardization and commercialization of inflorescence sap and sap-based product, standardization of tuber-based products, and preservation of standardization and preservation technique for Palmyra tender fruit endosperm. When we see the SWOT analysis of this Palmyra, the strength is every part of the palm is useful, like coconut, trees, trunk, nut, etc. Different value-added product being prepared from these nuts. It has have high economic value. It is mainly used for soil conservation measures. Metropolitan markets like Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, and Bangalore have good demand, and it has an industrial belt for processing. When you see the weakness, it is still underutilized palm. Still slow growing, it take 15 years to flower, and so gestation period. It is dioecious nature. We can't find whether it is male or female, and lack of knowledge regarding the cultivation practices. In opportunity, there is possible for commercial exploitation, source of employment, product-based industrialization is available, and it helped to make the wasteland into the Palmyra culture land. And threats during the recent year, most of the trees are fell down for bricklings, so it's the count is coming down, and the aged population of climbers, so that now the rural youth people are not interested in climbing job. Then future need of research is there is a potential industrial use of sap for conversion of sap into lactic acid or bioethanol production. And the fruit ripe palmyra fruit is a rich source of carotenoid, which can be also used as non-toxin natural dye. And the palmyra fruit mesocarp has an alternate source of cellulose, which can be used in making paper industries. And this Palmyra for plastic-free zones. The innovative modern handmade products made using Palmyra leaf could be a good solution for overuse of plastic in our daily life. Like bag, shoes, caps, sweet box, jewelry box, umbrella, decorative items, greeting cards can be also prepared from this Palmyra. And this Palmyra culture is nothing but growing a plantation of Palmyra in the wasteland, and to make the utilization of the Palmyra tree for self-reliant community living, which contribute to sustainable development. And this Palmyra tree paves waves for achieving self-sustainability environmentally, socially, and economically by providing numerous eco-friendly products. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing such a valuable knowledge and information to us.
Thank you.
Now we are moving to the next technical talk, which is on packaging solution for plantation crop-based products. For this session, we have with us Dr. S. Ananda Kumar. He is an associate professor and head in charge of FPSG, Lifton Thanjavur. Prior to joining to IFPT, he has served as an assistant professor in the Department of Marine Biotechnology, College of Marine Science and Technology, State of Eritrea, Northeast of Africa. He has 15 years of experience in teaching and research, also specialized in designing of food processing equipment and development of sustainable food packaging materials. He has developed many processing equipment and technologies like continuous type counter current form mat dryer, solar packed bed dryer, and many more. And I welcome you, sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation. The session is over to you, sir.
When we say the technology packaging, whenever you are covering your valuable commodity with any physical material, that can be called as a packaging. Any industry, if you see, the packaging will be the last unit operation, but considering the consumer point of view, the consumer, they will select the product based on seeing the appearance of the packaging material, the brand value, and the nutritive profile, what you are giving in the packaging material. Based on that only they are selecting. So in such a case, what is the importance you are giving for the process development or product development? The same thing you have to give importance for the packaging also. Then only you can build your brand, and the consumers will come forward to take your products also. So nowadays also there are many issues when we select the packaging material. Mainly when you select the packaging material, that should have proper protection to your food items, and also the cost of the packaging material should be very less, economically viable. And another thing, nowadays many people, they are talking about sustainable packaging. And what is the packaging material you are selecting that should not pollute the environment? So that these are all the things you have to be considered. When we have that packaging levels, normally we have that primary, secondary, and transit packaging. So the primary packaging, the food item will have the direct contact. So whenever you select the primary packaging material, it should be follow the FSSAI standard or BA standard packaging materials. So that should not have any migration or leaching of any components. Otherwise, it should not have any chemical reactions with your food items. So that is very, very important. And mainly that food grade packaging materials are highly recommended for primary packed food items. And secondary and transit packaging, according to your capacity levels, the handling practices, transportation distance, based on that, the size and the strength of the packaging material which will be varying. In general, there are 4 packaging materials we are using it, mainly the glass, plastics, metal containers, and the corrugated boxes. Either it can be used alone, or otherwise it can be a combination of plastics with the glass bottles, or otherwise the tin containers with the plastic lids, or otherwise it can be a laminated pouches. So like that, the multi-layered materials are also highly used in the packaging of processed food items. And whenever you see the packaging materials, particularly which is used in the food application, when we take the plastics, these 7 plastic materials are used. So these numbers which will be you can find in the packaging materials number 1, 2, 3 up to 7. So that is used for mainly after using the plastic material when you throw away. So the municipal person or the corporation people, they will collect the packaging material, and when it comes to the recycling plan, according to the numbers, they will take it to the recycling area, because each will have a separate melting point, that melt flow ability, and the sealing temperatures, so and so. So in such a case, there are many plastics we are using it. The major plastic: polyethylene terephthalate, high density polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, low density polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, and other copolymer materials can be used for the processed food items. So in such a case, when you select the monomer based packaging material, for example, that polyethylene terephthalate, it can be highly used for carbonated beverages. Even you can see that any laminated pouches, that polyethylene terephthalate will be the one of the layer where you can have a very good printing also, and the glossiness will be very much higher. And also, if you see that LDP or LLDP, it can be used in the dairy industry, or if any the beverage-based industry, or inner sealing material, it can be made by the low-density polyethylene. So these things will be used for identifying the recycling purpose. When we come to the plastic-based packaging material, normally we have flexible packaging materials, and another one is we have rigid packaging materials. So in such a case, that flexible packaging materials, if you take, will have the micron starting from above 50 micron. Normally for the food applications, the government says nowadays above 50 micron plastics will be used. You can make like a pouches. For example, you can have Ziploc pouches. Otherwise, you can use the pouch material and you can seal it by using that band sealer. Particularly, if you see in the market that desiccated coconut, shredded coconut, or you can have that what we can say, the dried coconut chips, whatever it may be. It can be packed in a tuna type of boxes. Otherwise, it can be packed in a multi-layer packaging material, metallized packaging material. And also, you can see nowadays the packaging materials are coming in the market with see-through windows. For example, by minimizing the usage of the plastics, or to avoid any biochemical reaction through light. So in such a case, majority of the packaging material will be covered in a shaded form, and in particular area you can have the openings so that you can see the internal quality of the product, the color and appearance of the product. So like that, window through packaging materials are also coming. And whenever you pack the dried desiccated coconut, there the moisture content level will be very less, and the oil content will be higher. And this oil content will be readily react with the atmospheric oxygen, so that the rancidity formation, bad odor formation will come. So in such a case, that multi-layer material or laminated pouches, when you take, so that can protect the chips quality or desiccated coconut. Even sometimes you can see the modified atmosphere packaging technologies are also used to nitrogen filled pouches. So that also which will support you to extend the shelf life of the commodity. And apart from that, you can have that flexible pouches. Either it can be a polyethylene or polypropylene, or it can be a laminated pouches. For example, biaxially oriented polypropylene with the low density polyethylene, or polyester with aluminum foil. So like that, many combinations they are using it. Only thing is to improve the barrier properties, particularly improve the water vapor transmission rate, or improve the gas barrier properties. They are having multi-layer materials, and this type of materials in a household or in a small scale, it can be sealed by using hand sealers, otherwise that pedal operated sealer or band sealers. So here, whenever you are filling the gases into the pouches, so that time to improve the sealing integrity, they can use this band sealer. The sealing width, it can be 10 mm, 12 mm thickness, it can be used. Apart from that, you can see in the market like the processed food items or the snacks food items, it can be packed with the resealable pouches, or it can be packed in a metallized film, which can be filled with the nitrogen gas. So these type of pouches also it is available in the market with the different shapes and the volume. So particularly you can see in the market that resellable stand-up pouches are there. Okay, and also the stand-up pouches with a spout opening. So for examples, if your product will be in a plastic for or something, so in such a case, stand-up pouches with the what we can say the spout openings are there. And also the sachet with zipper. Okay, so that type of technologies are there. Even the stand-up pouches, even it can be hold in the racks. So like that also, for example, sachet with keyholes. So such openings also which has been given. So these type of materials, the pouches, it is readily available in the market. Even the prices starting from 3 rupees to 7 rupees, the individual pouches will be varying. And you can buy this packaging material by using that band sealer, you can seal it. Even that band sealer cost will be around 25,000 to 45,000. Even nowadays, band sealer with nitrogen gas flushing unit also together it is coming in the market. So these type of equipments which can support you, particularly when you pack this type of processed food items. Another thing, blister packaging technology it is also available, particularly when you want to pack the product processed food items individually in a packet. So that time the blister packaging technologies are used. Normally the blister packaging material can be made by PVC material, and also that aluminum foil will be used for the sealing purpose. So in such a case, that coconut cubes are packed by using this blister packaging technology, so that you can extend the life of the curd white coconut cubes for 3 weeks period under the refrigerated condition. So normal coconut will not have more than 5 days when you keep it in refrigerated condition also. So in such a case, when we go for this type of blister packaging technology, so the life of the commodity also which can be extended. Another thing you can have this vacuum packaging technology. So in this vacuum packaging technology, for example, the removal of air will be taking place from the pouches, and hermetic sealing can be done. Even you can have in the market that single end vacuum packaging machine or double end vacuum packaging machine. So because of removal of that air from the pouches, you are minimizing the oxygen level. And similarly, when you remove the air from the packet, that also will support you to decrease the volume of the pouches, so that even when you have unit packaging volume, so it will be very less when we pack with the air packaging. And apart from that, during transportation also, which will be reduce the volume of the packaging, so that will reduce the volume of the cost of the transportation also. And minimizing the oxygen level also, you can control the biochemical reaction or microbial reactions, whatever it may be. And this type of equipments it is available. For example, this vacuum chamber single chamber machine cost will around 1.5 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs. If this double end sealing is there, it may be up to 3.5 lakhs are available. If it is twin chamber, double chamber vacuum machines are there, so it can cost about 7 lakhs or 8 lakhs rupees are there. Another thing you can see in the market, that modified atmosphere packaging. So when we say modified atmosphere packaging, we are changing the gas composition inside the package by minimizing the oxygen level, increasing the carbon dioxide, nitrogen level. So these are all the machines which will be used for modified atmosphere packaging. Either it can be a chamber machine, or it can be a smoother machine, or it can be a form fill sealing machine. All these equipments are available. For example, this bigger machine which will have the form fill sealing operation, and as well as the printing option will be there. This machine cost will about 7 lakhs to 9 lakhs which will come. And also if you see that a chamber machine, if you have a multiple chamber, the cost of the machine will be 15 lakhs will come. And here individual tray you can keep it, and you can remove the gases, you can make the sealing. Otherwise you can fill the gases, then you can go for sealing purpose. Otherwise, if you have any plantation crops, it can be packed in a bulk 15 kg, 20 kg, then you can choose this smoker machine. So by inserting the nozzle, you can remove the air, then you can create the vacuumized condition, then the bag can be placed in the boxes. Another thing you can see in the market that coffee packaging or tea packaging, particularly nowadays the coffee packaging, you can see in your pouches either it can be a polyester material or polyamide material. Will have very good gas barrier materials. You can select it with a ziplock, and here you can see the non-return valve will be placed. So normally when we roast the coffee, that the aroma creations as well as the carbon dioxide production. So sometimes that will causes the bursting of the pouches. So they will keep this non-return valve. Through that, the excess carbon dioxide will be released, and also the outside atmospheric air which will not get entered. Even when you want to sense the coffee beans, it is a fresh or it is a stored one. So in such a case, you can smell it through the non-return wall. So based on that aroma component also you can judge the coffee, the quality of the coffee. So this type of non-return walls are coming. And similarly, the tea bags are coming in the market. So normally the tea bags, it is packed in a nylon bag, particularly that polyamide. That polymer will have a very good puncture resistance, and also it has the printing ability. Will have, for example, that polyethylene with polyamide with polyethylene terephthalate. Yeah, multi-layer materials are there. Otherwise, you can see this type of degradable polylactic acid pouches are coming in the market for deep tea pouches. Filter papers are there. Aluminum metal containers are they are using it for packing of the tea, 250 gram or 500 gram tin plates are there. So these are all the packaging materials. According to the size and volume, you can select the packaging material which can be used for tea packaging. And another area we are mainly using in our packaging application, that is called active packaging. So in such a case, either by adding some of the absorbers or scavengers, by adding into the packaging material, there we can modify the environmental conditions by reducing the gases in the inside the packaging level, or by keeping some ethanol emitters, by controlling the microorganism. So this type of packaging things also nowadays coming in the market, that is called active packaging systems. So in such a case, for example, if you want to take the jackery packaging, the main problem with the jackery is it's a hygroscopic material which will start absorbing moisture, and similarly when it reacts with the atmospheric oxygen, so there also that quality change, browning and other the microbial contaminations which will be causing out. So in such a case, in the market it is the products are coming with oxygen absorber. So normally the jackery, it is packed in a plastic containers, LDP pouches, otherwise polyethylene terephthalate rigid containers or glass jars are there. And along with that, nowadays they are using it oxygen absorber. So this oxygen absorber, either it can be a chemical based, for example, you can have this glucose based oxygen absorber, that iron powders are there. Mainly the selection of the oxygen iron powder that should not have any reaction with your jaggery products, and the jaggery should be packed in a dry conditions with the oxygen absorber, and the film should have more moisture barrier. So if you have such conditions, then your jaggery will not be easily affected by the microbial microorganism, and also you can control that biochemical changes also. Other packaging materials we are using it, that paper, mainly the paper, craft paper, parchment paper, wax paper or greaseproof paper. So these are all the papers we are using it for the secondary processed food items, particularly that plantain crops. Even you can have for by minimizing the plastics, they have the paper based packaging materials along with the liner based plastic. So in such a case, this type of sustainable packaging material, so that can have maintain the product quality, and also that will support the environmental issues. And this paper, when we select the paper, the virgin papers are used for the food application, and the recycled papers are used for making a secondary packaging material or cardboard type of packaging material. Nowadays, you can see in the market composite packaging materials are coming in the market. For example, this composite material, it is made by the cardboard. It's a very thick paper board material, and the bottom lid is made by the metal, and the top lid is made by the plastics. So by using impulse sealing, that aluminum foil will be internally sealed and it is covered with the plastic lid. So this type of composite packaging material, when we use it for the processed food item, for example, even you can have some snacks, foods or chips items, it is packed in a composite container. So this type of containers which will minimize the weight of the packaging material, and also that makes the sustainability and also environmental friendly packaging materials are coming in the market. Other packaging materials what we are using is a metal containers. So here in the market you can see the 2-piece can, 3-piece can, or the metal tubes are used for the processed food items. So in such a case, when we select these metal containers, you can go for retard packaging so that you can make a thermally stable product. So once it is retard packed, the product can be stored in the normal atmosphere. And this type of products, it has the minimum shelf life 6 months to 12 months, 1 year life. And these are all the equipments are used for canning industry. So normally when you want to set some canning industry, if you have some 25 lakhs rupees, so you can set up retard packaging unit. So this type of products, that operating cost will be lesser because once it is processed, it can be stored in the normal atmosphere. So it has a different other accessories equipment, for example, can, flanger, embossing unit, seaming unit and exhausting unit. So these are all the major equipments which is used in the canning industry. Other packaging material what we are using is a glass bottle. So only thing is the glass bottle is a inert material that can be used for many processed food items to preserve the quality, but only the issue, the empty weight of the container, it is very high, and the cost of the packaging material is very high when compared to other flexible and metal container based packaging material, and also mishandling will cause us the damages. Normally, the glass bottles are produced in the industry by using the blow and blow method when you want to produce the beverage bottles. Otherwise, that press and blow method by using a wider mouth glass container. So normally the closures, it can be made by the metal or plastic containers are used for the closures for the glass bottles. And you can see there are many products, so it can be packed in a glass bottles. So many of the even the exporters, sometimes they need some sustainable packaging material. So only the thing is the cost of the packaging material will be higher. Even you can see that palm syrup, or even you can see the jackery syrup. All these things are nowadays it is packed in a glass bottle. And also the tin containers, for example, aluminum containers or metallized pouches. Okay, all these things are also used for packing of the processed food items. And another thing, whenever you talk about this tetra packaging or metal container based beverages packaging, so you need aseptic packaging conditions. So in such a case, the packaging material should be free from microorganism. The product should be free from microorganism, and the environment where we are packing the material, so that also should be free from microorganism. Normally, the Tetra Pak materials will have minimum six layers and above. For example, that paper, aluminum foil, plastics, and outer layer also a plastic. So like that, four different layers. And apart from that, in between they will use that adhesives or glue material. So in such a case, the Tetra Packs are coming the market, that also less in weight. The packaging material weight is very less. Otherwise, when we go for aseptic packaging of fruit juices or that the coconut milk or whatever it may be, it can be packed in aluminum containers or tin containers by using that aseptic packaging technology. Here you can have that UHT processing equipment, that ultra high temperature processing equipments that can be used in the aseptic processing line, where the temperature of the product can be raised to 125 to 135 degrees centigrade, but the processing time will be very shorter, for example, 15 seconds to 25 seconds. So in such a case, in a shorter period, that will control the microorganisms. Other thing, when we talk about that plantation crops, so after processing, there are many waste we will generate in the agro processing industry. So that waste can be utilized for making such a sustainable packaging material. Even in Nipton Tanjavur, we have developed the edible cutleries from jackfruit stem. So after taking the jackfruit, the jackfruit leather, it has been dried, and from that we separated that fibrous component, and from that we have developed this ice cream cones and edible cutlery. And also, if you see, it is rich in fiber and protein. So like that, the plantation processing industry waste also, it can be used for developing such a packaging, sustainable packaging materials. There are many filling equipments are used in the processing industries. Our product, it can be a liquid product, or it can be in a pasty form or powdered material. And these are all the filling equipments, either on weight basis or volume basis. The product can be filled into the pouches or containers. Otherwise, you can have that piston filler based on that the vacuum creation, or the, what we can say, the filling volume. So we can, the product pasting material, it can be filled into the containers. Otherwise, we have that palm fill sealing machines. Okay, the pouch material. So there you can fill the individual unit packed materials that can be packed. And similarly, if your products are in a dry condition like a powder, or it can be a post material, so you can choose this other type of filling or cup filling equipments, that is palm fill sealing equipments. Otherwise, you can have the vibratory filler. Okay, so for example, if your products are similar to the potato chips, then you can select the vibratory palm fill sealing machine. So the cups will fill the product into the pouches, then the sealing can be done along with the gases. Other tabletop equipments, you can see that a bottle corking equipment, closure equipments, induction sealing equipments. For example, inside the closures, if you want to seal your containers to make it more retarding of the gases and the moisture, then you can go for induction sealing. So there they will use the multi-layer film. It can be placed on the mouth of the metal, what we can say, metal containers, glass containers, or PET bottle. Then by using that electrical conductivity, the sealing can be done. Otherwise, you can use that band sealer, tabletop, or in a standing position, or the impulse sealer. So these are all some of the basic sealing equipments are used in the processing industries. Other area you can have in the market, that is active intelligent packaging. It is coming in the market. So to monitor the internal quality of the product, or to give more information about the product quality to the consumers, nowadays this active intelligent packaging are coming in the market. Particularly in India nowadays, in dairy industry, they are using this type of active intelligent packaging. And similarly, for the plantation processed food items, if you find some of the component will make the quality changes, or will make the spoil it, then based on that also we can develop some indicators that can be placed over the packaging material as a label, so that will give clear information about the product to the consumers. RFID tags, okay, radio frequency tags, either hashtag codes, QR code, always barcoding systems are used not only for the pricing of the product, and also whenever you are giving any offer to the consumers, or when you want to give more information about the product, or the origin of the product, or GI tag, or whatever it may be, you want to communicate to the consumer. So in such a case, you can use this type of labeling techniques, so that time by smart labeling technique, the people will get more information about your products. Even nowadays, the laser labeling techniques are coming in the market. Even no need of pasting any papers or sticker glue. So directly you can design your logo, or design your product name in the computer, and directly by using the laser technology, you can print on the product. So these type of things also will minimize the packaging cost, and that also will make uniqueness or the brand development. So you can use this type of laser labeling techniques also for your product. And only the issue, you can print over the commodity will have the harder surfaces. For example, the coconut, pumpkin. Okay, the outer surfaces should be more rich, so that can withstand some temperatures, and that will not make any shrinkages during the remaining storage period. And another thing, whenever you sell the product, already the standard has been given, just to compile and give it in a summary form. So whenever you sell the product in the market, Okay, so this FSSAI regulation, it has to be followed. In such a case, this 13 parameters, it has to be printed on the label, and it has to be properly scrutinized and properly evaluated, because you can't have any random values. So that makes issues, legal issues. So in such a case, you give the samples to any testing laboratories and certified testing laboratories. For example, NIPM has food testing laboratory and food packaging material testing laboratory. You can send the sample to not only NIPM, any other testing laboratory in our country. You can take the certificates. Based on that, you can print these parameters in your product. Then you can sell the product in the market. And also nowadays, even you can see whenever you develop the product, now people are more oriented with the nutritive value. Even when you develop some of the product, if you want some components, for example, iron, iodine, zinc, or vitamin A, D, something you want to fortify with your plantation crop products, so then you can have these fortification certificates also. So you have some product in your mind and you are developing, but now the people are seeing some other product that can be health oriented. So there is another area, fortified foods are there. So when you develop some product, you can think of this direction also. So you will be differ from other normal products which is available in the market. So these are all the things, some example, even fruit juice, salt, all these things, everything they have some addition of some nutrition, so that they can improve the nutritive profile of the product, particularly for the aged people or athletic people or children. So you can classify your food items where it can be fit in, and there you can have this type of fortifications and the usage. So with that, I thank the organizer for giving this opportunity. The conclusion, just I want to say, whenever you select the packaging material, you select the packaging material economically viable, and that should not have any reaction with your food items, which would support the shelf life of the commodity. And another more important, when you throw away the packaging material to the environment, that should not create any environmental pollution. So these are the things you just consider when you select the packaging material. And we are all always open. If you have any queries or any support you need, you stuck with some point related with the packaging, not only in packaging processing or anything, you can send a mail, and our scientists, our faculties will support you to improve further in your setup. Okay, so with this, I once again thank the organizer and ODOP team for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Now we are moving forward to the next technical talk, which is PMFME scheme guidelines and feature. Now I would like to invite Dr. V.R. Sineja ma'am, Professor and Head FPBIC, Lifton Thanjavur, and PMFME coordinator. I would like quickly introduce ma'am to you. She did PhD and MTech in post-harvesting engineering degree in agriculture and food engineering from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. She was awarded with the National Doctoral Fellowship by AICTE, New Delhi, for carrying out her research work. She has 15 years of teaching and research experience in the field of food technology. Her research works has been published as papers in more than 50 peer-reviewed journals, 11 popular articles, 4 book chapters, and more than 75 international and national conference proceedings, and 3 patents. As the head of the Food Processing Business Incubation Center, she has coordinated more than 250 skill training program on the daily basis, and 97 budding entrepreneurs have successfully set up their food processing business through the skill development program and consulting services of FPBIC. I welcome you, ma'am, but the ma'am is not available with us due to some official work. So on behalf of her, Vijay is there. He is a young professional in Lifton, Thanjavur. So I welcome you, Vijay, and give us the session. And the session is over to you. Thank you.
Myself going to take this section. Basically, the scheme implemented by MOFPI, Ministry of Food Processing Industry, to formalize the micro food enterprises. Coming to the objective of the scheme is providing the increased access in term of loan by exiting micro food processing enterprise. It further aim on supporting the FBO, SGSS, and cooperatives. It also aim is providing the professional technical handholding support to micro enterprises, which will be helping formalizing to the micro food processing sector. Then it also focuses on strengthening institution at state level and the district level research institution in the food processing sector, and also aim at developing increase the common service like incubation facility at district level. It also one of the key component. Uh, the scheme on formalizing the unorganized micro enterprises everywhere SSS to make investment and upscale their operation, thereby support for transition of existing enterprises on the formal frameworks. Next slide. So coming to the major feature of the scheme, actually it is based on the ODOP approach. Here we are talking about the plantation and the value addition processing. So under the scheme, we covered the plantation crop more than 10 crop we covered. And the total outlay of the scheme, 10,000 crore for the period of 5 years up to 2025. Here you can see the sharing pattern where the government of India, MOFI, Minister of Food Processing Industry directly implementing in scheme along with the state nodal officials and the district level bottom parties. So coming to the benefit of the scheme, through the scheme, the funding support can be provided for the upgradation of existing micro unit as well as the new unit in terms of credit linked subsidy of 35% of the maximum ceiling amount 10 lakh rupees. In that beneficiary contribution should be minimum 10% of the project cost in with balance being available from bank. Okay. In that seed capital support is available to self-help group up to the 40,000 rupees. And there is the state level marketing and branding support around the 50% of grant for the government institution. In case of private institution, 50%. And there the support in the establishing common incubation center with the 100% funding the government organization, 50% in case of private institution. Next slide. Coming to the support of this scheme. So there is a no age limit and education qualification required for applying this scheme. And exiting unit as well as a new unit, we can apply both ODP and non-ODP products. The enterprise will be eligible for the loan even if bank loan available in any other central and state government schemes. As I said, the yearly beneficiary contribution should be 10% of the total project cost. And the marketing and branding support can be the channelized through the state nodal agency, though, so they can will be put in the proposal of the ministry. Then the further process will be by ministry. Come to the next slide. So here you can see the application process. So how you can proceed with application? All existing unit or new unit, you can have to apply through the online portal. For group application, apply with the DPR to state nodal agency, which will undergo the preliminary stage by the nodal officials. Apply the common incubation facilities. Separate online portal in our Nikam Punjab page. Availing marketing and branding support that can be channelized through the state nodal agency. They will putting up the proposal to ministry and the further approval process will be followed by the ministries. Next slide. So coming to the capacity building. So now we will move on the next another important component of the scheme. The capacity building which involves the providing the training of stakeholders scheme form of assets. One is the product specific training, another one is the entrepreneurship development. The product specific training focus on the domain knowledge, machineries, packaging aspect, value addition with respect to micro enterprises, and marketing, branding, etc. The entrepreneurship development focus on the functional aspect of running business involving the business opportunities and the DPR preparation, which is most important factor when you are going to for kind of finances support in terms of loan subsidies and the skill needed for the business management. Also, it covers the regulation registration process required for the starting enterprises. The majority of training conducted in online mode, whereas the beneficiary training are conducted by the in physical mode for better transmission of the knowledge and impact of the content. Next slide. So this is the master level training. So basically, these are the food subsector or domain which are the master trainings. So, this slide we will cover to master trainings at the food substrata. So, basically, these are the food substrata or domain, and this master training are conducted various national research institution, including our Nippon Tanjavur, Nippon Kuntli, Sietara, Mysore, Swift Kuchi. Based on the whatever domain they are taking care under this scheme, we have the 9 domain. You can see the in screen. Example: fruit and vegetable processing, grain processing, milk and milk processing. This and all we covered in our. You can see on our website also. We coming to the level of training. So once master training qualified at the state level, the master trainer will provide to training to district level officials and district level trainers and district resource persons. Here, a district resource person are responsible for providing the hand holding support to beneficiaries, preparation of DPR, submission of application, document needed for the application process. So they trained by master training about the scheme and the food domain section details. When they qualify, then they will be eligible for to the provide the support the beneficiaries. Ultimately, the beneficiary will get training from the district level trainers. District level trainers will give training to the various categories beneficiary like new and exiting enterprise who have the already applied or those who have wished to apply under this scheme. So, food-based training model developed our Nippon Tanjavur. So these are the food. Totally 98 ODOP processor products have been uploaded in our website. I will take to you web page. Here in the creation of common incubation centers, that basically to support the establishing common incubation facility for ODOP and the allied products, and to utilize the established common incubation facility on a commercial basis. So, silent feature of common incubation facilities. So, silent feature of common incubation facility. Normally, the processing primary processing line and secondary processing line, territory processing line, packaging and storage, and the effluent treatment plant also include the common incubation facilities. It is like created for one or more products like one ODOP line and 2 or 3 LED line, which is the non-ODOP line. This is the costly by Ministry for setting up the common incubation facility. Example, 3 to 5 processing line should be there. Capacity should be 1 to 2 ton per day. The ODOP or the ADA produce, it include the primary, secondary, territory processing, raw material, finished product, which will be cost approximately around 200 lakhs. And the flooring and the electrical connection, other unit, boiler, aeroplane, this and all that the ministry providing fund around the 15 lakh. If you want the creating food testing lab inside the incubation center, 25 lakh separately ministry allotted. So that the total cost around the incubation center facilities 275 lakhs. Okay. Coming to the basic equipment list, which you have to include your food testing lab, consider the micro enterprise. These are the funding detail of Ministry of Food Processing Industries. In case of government institution, 100% PMFME scheme fund will be provided. In case of private agency, 50% PMFME scheme and 50% private agency. In case of private agency in tribal district, 60% PMFME scheme, 40% private agency. These are all funding details. That's all about the PMFME scheme guidelines.
Thank you, Vijay, for such an inspiring session. Now, we will move forward to our next technical speaker. Now we are moving forward to the next technical talk, which is on banking and financial assistance, detailed project report, preparation to micro enterprises. Now, I would like to invite Dr. P. Senthil, Manager, State Bank of India, Administrative Office, Trichy. First, I will introduce you to all. He has more than 12 years of experience as a commercial banking professional and specialized in rural banking and schematic loan products and rural microcredits. He conducted more than 193 seminars, workshops, training for the farmers, and also for other bank officers dealing in agri financing for bringing about awareness of new technology, and published various journals and articles related to dairy science and technology. He was awarded as a young scientist by the Department of Science and Technology at Anna University, Chennai. I welcome you, sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation. The session is over to you.
Good evening to one and all. I am Dr. Senthi Tangarazu, Manager Technical, State Bank of India, Administrative Office, Trichapalli, for plantation crops and processing and value additions. Before we are going to the banking and assistance, how we need to prepare the detailed project report for any banking scheme. If you are seeking any financial assistance to any commercial banks or private banks, we need to prepare a detailed project report. I think this is a correct session for banking. In the detailed project report, what are the aspects we need to cover? For example, that report should be cover the entire thing from the borrower, from the applicant. That is from the applicant to marketing and financial aspects. It should be covered the entire forward, backward linkages and everything should be covered in the report. First, the detailed project report, the major points. First point is the applicant. Who is the applicant? You should identify, you should explore the person, who is the promoter, what is the background, what is the experience about the activity. Suppose if the borrower is starting the processing unit of any rubber unit or cashew unit, that there is any previous experience is there or not. Like that, how to introduce yourself within the project preparation, within the project itself. This is the introduction part. Then, suppose if there is a company or there is a partnership or there is any farmers producer company or individuals, we need to elaborate about your experience and educational qualifications. What is the background? Where are you? Where is what is happening? You have to clearly tell about in the first column. Then you have to move on to the activity. What is the activity you are going to do? Suppose what is the business plan? What is the objectives of the business? You have to cover in these aspects. Suppose you are starting a cashew business, means that the entire aspects of, suppose that overview of the cashew industry, where you are starting, that is the locations, whether the raw material is available or not, what is the objectives. Okay, in this aspect, you have to cover the entire aspects of your plan, business plan, and objectives means that suppose if you are doing the cashew processing plant, if you are starting in this locality, in this area, what is the benefit of this plant? Okay, like that you have to prepare your project report. Then the third important thing is the technical feasibility. Any project, okay, if it is a low value project or a high value project, any project, the technical feasibility report is the most important thing. Technical feasibility is nothing but where you are starting, that is the locations. Then in the locations, what are the inputs are available? Raw material, where you are getting the raw material? What is the raw material? Suppose cashew milk, where you are getting the cashews? In the area, whether the cashew is available or not. Okay, then whether the processing plant is required the power, whether you are having the required power facilities in that area or not. In the suppose you are proposing one area means in your locality that EB connection is available or not. Like that, you have to study your report. Then water availability is there or not. Okay, location, EB or electricity facilities and water facilities. Then water is required for this particular activities means whether the technical inputs is available or not. Like that, you have to ensure whether water is available means what is the resource, whether it is a reservoir or river or borewell or well, it should be mentioned in your report. Okay, then where you are going to buy your input materials. Okay, infrastructure. Suppose if there is any machinery, processing machinery is involved means where you are going to buy. Okay, which dealers you are going to, which companies, because the entire loan amount will be forwarded, will be credited to the buyer's account only. So that buyer also is one of the major things you have to mention in that what is the quotations, where you are going, the detailed GST and everything you have to mention in the project report. These are all the forward linkages. Then backward linkages means where you are going to market your products. Who is the buyers? That buyer details also you have to mention in your project report. Then the financial viabilities. Suppose you are preparing the cash, you are suppose you are installing a cash processing unit for 5,000 tons or 5 tons or 50 tons based on your financial requirement. The financial ratios will be prepared by the auditors. This will be reflected in the banking sector. Suppose the current ratios and some ratios are involved in that. That you will not worry that auditors will be taking care of the financial ratios. Then market viabilities. How much raw materials involved in the processing? Suppose the 500 tons or 5 tons or 50 tons, whatever the tons or raw materials involved in the processing plant, what is the output? Where you are going to marketing the product? Who are the buyers? Okay, in these aspects you have to cover in the detailed project report. These are the important things. These 5 aspects are the most important thing before you are going to prepare your project report. It should be involved, it should be mentioned. The additional information, apart from this, the above 5 points, you have to add what is the purpose of loan. What is the purpose? Suppose the infrastructure should be created for the purpose of installing cashier unit or rubber unit or card amount. Whatever the purpose, what is the purpose of loan amount? Then quantum of loan. How much amount of loan you are seeking to the financial institutions, whether it is a bank or any financial institution, what is the quantum of loan? Well, okay, suppose for 100 crores or 1 crore. 1 crore means how much amount of margin you are bringing from borrower margin. In any banking project, suppose the 25% minimum 5 to 5% or maximum of 25% depends upon the viability of the proposal. The margin amount will be vary 5 to 20%. If it is a huge project, means the value of the project cost is huge, means that lending institutions maybe they will change the margin amount maybe up to 35%. Okay, it depends upon the project viability. Then what is the repayment period? Whether it is 3 years or 5 years or 9 years or 10 years. It based on your activities. Based on your activities, it may be vary, depends upon the periods. Minimum 3 years, maximum of 11 years, and depends upon the period activity, it will be vary. Then rate of interest. It's also depends upon the sectors. It may be agriculture sectors. Maximum of 12%. In major, all the institutions, they are lending maximum of 12%. Within the 12% itself, you can get the agriculture loans. If it is in SME sectors, okay, it may be the below 10% like that. So rate of interest will be, you have to mention approximately, you have to, based on the market industry standard, you have to mention in your project. Then you have to mention in your report whether any subsidies, capital subsidies available, or any interest subvention is available. Like most of the government schemes are, they are providing interest subvention for your interest. Suppose the bank is charging 12%. Apart from the 12%, the government will offer maybe the 3% like that. Oh, so overall your interest is 9% only. Okay, even though the banking sector is charging 12%, you will get additional, you will get the subsidy subvention of interest subvention of 3%. These are all the major points. Okay, additional points you have to mention in your project report. Then now your project report is ready. Okay, now you are going to submit into the any banking institutions like SBI and any private banks. Before you are going to approach your bank, whether you can personally check your bill report or the lending institution, they will check before you suppose after submission of your report. CIBIL is the most important thing for any financial gain because based on the CIBIL only they will further processing of your applications. So for agriculture loans, the score will need not to be worried. There is suppose the 350 or 850 or 900, anything is that the CIBIL score is not a matter for the agriculture loans. If it is an SME loan, CIBIL score is most important. So only one important thing in the CIBIL score is you should not be a defaulter in any financial institutions. Write off, written off. The written off should not be there in your CIBIL. Okay, this is two important things. Should not be a defaulter, and the account. Suppose if you are availed any previous accounts, no, any previous loans should not be written off. These two things should be observed by the banking sectors. Then suppose your CIBIL score is Pakka. Okay, now that your application will be moved on to the next stage. You will apply the loan through online portal. Suppose for AIF or any other mode of applications, whatever the scheme guidelines, you have to apply through the portal or you have to directly submit it to the branches, bank branches. You have to directly submit to the banks. Along with your details, KYC, you have to submit your detailed project report. This is the most important thing. Within the project report, already I mentioned that the entire things you have to content within the report itself. Along with that, you have to submit what are the related papers. Related papers means that any license. Suppose if you want to start the cashew unit means some license is required for putting up processing unit. That all other license and approvals you should be submitted to the bank. Okay, after the submission of your papers, the bank officials come for your pre-sanction inspections. After pre-sanction inspections, that primary or collateral security, suppose that if you are covering or if you are coming under any schemes like AF or PMFME means, you need not worry, submit to any additional collateral securities. But you should be submit your legal and valuation for your primary securities. Primary security is the most important thing, but that property should be mortgaged to the bank. Okay, you need not to be submit your any collateral securities. Under any schemes, suppose you are applying any schemes means you don't want to submit any additional, you don't want to extend any property. Only the primary property is the most important. You have to mortgage to the bank. Then 3 types of loans, 3 or 4, 5 types of loans are available for the any processing unit or startups. Suppose term loan. Term loan is mainly for creating the infrastructure. Okay, it may be the repayment of 5 to 7 years or 3 to 9 years or 10 years like that. Then CC. CC is mainly required for the running working capital requirement, day-to-day activity. Okay, in that the CC will be required. Then OD and demand may be based on the need. That OD also will be, the bank will be sanctioned based on the activity. The 3 type of loans will be sanctioned by the branch. After sanction, the documentation part will be happen at the branch. Okay. After documentation, the processing charges and inspection charges will be deducted by the bank, either from your loan account or from your SB account. Okay, as per the bank guidelines, they will be deducted. After deduction, the loan disbursement will be taken at stage by stage. The disbursement of loan will be happen at the dealers or buyers like that only. It will not be disposed to the individual account, or unless until if there is any need. After that activity will be carried out, then you will start the repayment as per the bank schedule. After the gestation period will be given. Gestation period means the infrastructure creation period. Okay, from the loan sanction or disbursement to the period of operations, the first operation, no? That is a period of gestation. That is a period of after gestation period, you have to make your repayment. This is a type of financial assistance. Any bank will be provided this type of loans. Apart from the suppose the export units, they can get the export credit facilities also. Term loan, working capital, demand loan, and letter of credit and bank guarantee. This is the most commonly available loans any financial institution. Any processing plant or micro enterprises is only one scheme. Within the scheme itself, you can fulfill your needs. It's include for the plantation crops also. That is the scheme is Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. This is a new introduction. This scheme is introduced by our central government. Within the scheme itself, that PMFME also covered. Within that, up to 2 crores without any securities, apart from that, your primary security, any individuals or partnership or company will get the loan. Even that farmers producer company, even that SSG also, they can get the loan up to 10 lakhs within the scheme. This is one of the most important scheme nowadays. The entire banking sector, they are doing activity under this scheme. Either the public sector bank or private bank, any financial institutions, they are doing. This is a very famous case. These are all the aspects they are covering under the schemes. These are all the activities they are covering under the schemes. warehouse, silos, pack houses, assessing units, and sorting and grading units, cold chains, logistic facilities, and primary processing centers. These all the activities are eligible under the AAF scheme. Then suppose the infrastructure is created under any, even that, I'm trying to say that infrastructure AAF is one of the scheme. Apart from that, scheme specific, activity specific, that all the financial institutions, even that SB also having the scheme specific lending schemes. We are having that another scheme, term loans. Okay, suppose that the AAF is not covered in your for your activities means we can do normal term loans. Okay, you suppose AAF is not covered for your activity means we can do the normal term loan. Okay, but the only thing the CGTMC also coverage will be available for that loan. Apart from that, term loan, working capital requirement. Any processing industry, that working capital is most important thing. Okay, you have to get your sufficient working capital limit for running of your day-to-day operations, or otherwise that the running of factory or running of business is very difficult. So you have to avail the sufficient loan amount from the bank before starting of your operations. Suppose if you are having the sufficient quantity of amount, sufficient amount in your bank account or in your hand, you can run your business without any hurdle. At any time, you can give the check to the suppliers. This is one of the third important scheme, Prime Minister Mudra scheme, Mudra Yojana. Under this scheme, up to 10 lakhs, whoever it may be, any individual for allied activities or primary activities, any individuals or companies or even SNG also, they can get up to 10 lakhs without any security loan. Okay, under this scheme, that the credit guarantee will be available. The government, I think the individual will be paid. Okay, government will not be paying that amount, but the credit guarantee amount also the government will pay to the individuals. Under Mudra, allied activities we can cover maximum of 10 lakhs. This is for a good construction purpose, agriculture marketing infrastructure. This is a government sponsored scheme only. Under this, you can get the subsidy also. Okay, central government is through NABARD. They are giving 33% of subsidy for the individuals. For SC/ST, they are giving 33% of subsidy amount. And I think most of the banks, they are having the financing to the farmers producer companies also based on the activities. Even that more than 10,000 farmers producer companies are available in India. Whoever the activities, I think most of the farmers producer companies, they are doing different activities, seed processing, godown or input shop, whatever the activities they are doing, we can cover under AAF. Even the separate schemes are also available for the farmers producer companies. For every schemes, the eligibility will be different. Okay, the eligibility is different, the scheme amount is different, the terms and conditions will be different. I think that PMFME scheme already they thought. Stand Up India loan. Stand Up India is one of the specific loan for SC/ST and women, those who are willing to start the new enterprises. This is eligible under up to 2 crores without any securities. And unemployed youth. Okay, employment generation for the Prime Minister Employment Generation Program. Under this scheme also, we can avail the financial aid. Any banker. Okay, these are all the schemes are available with not only the SBI, with all the financial banks, they can extend the loan under these schemes. Okay.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for such a good information and inspiring everyone regarding this. Now we are moving forward on the last but not the least technical talk, which is on food safety and standards for plantation crop-based products. Now I would like to invite Dr. Abhijit Arun Katade, Assistant Professor in Department of Food Science and Technology, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. I would like to introduce you to you. His expertise in new product development and food analysis and quality control and food safety. He has around 10 years of teaching and research experience. He has published 8 research publication in international journals, 3 handbooks, and 3 manuals. Previously, he was involved extension works like technical expert, EDEP courses, NCED courses, and vice versa. I welcome you, sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation. The session is over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Niftim Thanjavur and the PMFME team, for having me here to deliver a talk on plantation crop-based products, their safety and the standards requirement. So basically, I will be just covering what are the regulatory compliances that you need to have when you are thinking to build a plant or maybe a business in a case of processing of plantation crops, and along with that, whatsoever possible products that you can make over there, that also will be get included. So if we just consider like a compliance to the any food industry, so the compliance is nothing but whether you are going to deal with the quality requirements which has been got stated by the government or not. That is what we call generally as a compliance. So when we think about the compliance in a food industry, it might be in a relation with the two things. One is the food quality and another one is the food safety compliances. So when we think about the food quality compliances, it is not always true like the only industry has to think about the food quality just as a burden of the government. They are just asking you to comply with. But the thing is, when you are just coping up with the requirements of government associated with the food quality and safety, it is going to help you in a lot. Say like in case if you are just doing well, or if you are just producing a good produce, and eventually if it is safe for human consumption, eventually customer is going to accept your product in a very good amount, and eventually your business will be in a profitable way. So if I just consider these two terminologies as a food quality and food safety, so the food quality is nothing but the attributes that are going to decide whether your product is acceptable in by the consumer or not. So generally if we just consider, generally we think like quality will be always a good quality, but it is not true. The quality will be always associated with different sorts of attributes. One is negative attribute and another one is a positive attribute. So negative attributes means the parameters which should not be there in a food product, or the quality things like which will be degrading the quality of the food product, and the positive attributes which we will be requiring at most in the food product and that are literally beneficial for the human being. So if you just see in case of positive attributes, it can be a nutritional value like a protein content or anything else. Then it can be a good sensorial attribute. It should look good. It should appeal good. The aesthetic properties of the product should be good so that the consumer is going to get attracted over there. In case of negative attributes, if you found like whatever the product you are purchasing from a market, it has been got contaminated or it has been got spoiled. So what will happen? Eventually you are going to reject it. You will not buy it. So the thing is, once there are negative attributes in your product, the consumer acceptability is going to be get decreased. So when you just perform some sort of good quality analysis in your food industry, and once you get to know, yes, my product is having a good positive attributes and it is ready to be get sent into a market, and obviously the customer is going to get attracted over there and they are going to consume my product. Eventually you are telling like, yes, my quality has been got assured, and you will be just having an implemented quality assurance in your food industry. The another terminology is the food safety, which means that it is an assurance that food is safe for intended use. So the intended use, why I just mentioned intended use, is like the food is not always a end used commodity. Sometimes it may go as an intermediate commodity for any other business. Like suppose if we consider a wheat which will be get converted into a wheat flour. So generally wheat flour we can just use as making some sort of breads and everything, but generally it will go into an entry of another business also. So again, depending upon the intended use of the commodity, we will be just deciding where it is going to went. So if the intended use is decided, and if there is no any harm associated with that food, and the intended use going to happen very good, then eventually the product is safe for human consumption, or maybe whatever the intended use you are going to make out of it. So basically, when we just consider a safety, it is again a primary attribute or the precursor of quality. So again, if you are able to see some microbial growth on the food product, eventually it is going to reduce the acceptability, and hence it is going to reduce the quality attribute also. So always when we think about the safety aspects of a food product, we need to think about not having certain hazardous and harmful component in the food product, and eventually that is what we called as a standards or limits associated with the food products. So basically, when we think about the safety of food product, now those limits we will be considering as a critical limits, because they are very much critical to be get analyzed, and eventually the harm associated with them will be much more higher. So if you just consider the harm associated either with the food safety, or maybe the quality, or maybe the thing which is not good in a food product, it will be either a toxicity associated with the component, or it might be get considered as an hazard. So again, toxicity, obviously it is going to have a huge harm to the human being. It may lead to a intoxication also, or it may lead to a death of a particular consumer also. In case of hazard, there are various types of hazards that are coming up in a picture nowadays. Previously we were just considering a physical hazard, chemical hazard, and biological hazard, but nowadays a lot of work is going on. We are just analyzing whether the food what somebody else is eating, whether it is safe for consuming by another consumer or not, and that is how the allergen hazards came into a picture. So again, we are now thinking about having a biotechnological hazard. It might be a radiological hazard. So now few things are coming into a picture. So again, if you think about the physical hazards, it may be get including like glass pieces or metal pins. You might have came across with some sort of situation where you might have found some sort of metal pieces in your food products, and that is not recommended to be present in your food product. So in case of chemical hazards, the more use of the pesticides, I think someone was asking a question like, what is the pesticide limit for a tea? So again, if you can just go through the regulation which is there as a contaminants and pesticide residues, you will be able to find out what should be the limit of use for a particular pesticide residues in a field of post harvest commodities. So again, if you are using certain components as either as a fertilizers or pesticides at a par level or much more higher level that has been got prescribed, or that we what we have considered as a critical limit, eventually now those chemicals will be considered as a chemical hazard. Even though we are using some sort of additives like preservatives, so some preservatives, if they are up to a particular limit, or if they are not exceeding the critical limit, they are not going to have any harm on your body. But if prolonged consumption of such kind of chemicals or maybe the preservatives will definitely have some sort of carcinogenic effect on your body. So again, like a biological hazards, which includes like macro and microbiological hazards. Predominantly in case of safety, we are considering microbiological hazards because they are not visible enough. We can't see them through our naked eyes. We need to go for microbiological evaluation only, and the risk associated therefore is much more higher if we just consider the biological hazard. So allergen, it is again a new thing which has came across, like wheat. If somebody is consuming heat and if they are not able to digest it, it might be an allergen. There are some sort of components which may hampering on your health. Or if somebody is able to eat bread but you are not able to eat a bread and you may be getting some sort of allergenic effect, then you should avoid eating wheat kind of product. So when it comes to the food safety and quality maintaining or compliancing to it, as I already told, we need to abide with the standards or the limits which has been got stated by the regulatory bodies or maybe the authority. So what is food standards? It is nothing but the level or limit of a particular component. It might be a quality parameter or it might be a safety parameter, up to what you need to comply. So again, this food standards will always ensure that whether what food you are manufacturing, whether it is safe or wholesome for the human consumption or not. So if you get to know, like, if I am just thinking this component should be at this particular limit, and if it is exceeding, so you will be able to understand, no, this is not able to be get consumed because it has a particular exceeding limit of a particular component. So when we think about the food standards, we have, or as per the FSSAI, the standards has been got categorized into two different categories. One is the horizontal standards and another one is the vertical standards. Horizontal standards are the standards which cut across the various categories of food, or they are like a complementary standards, or maybe like a common standards which generally gets associated with all types of product. But once you think about the vertical standards, they will be just dealing with a specific kind of a product only. Say you can't have a particular standard, like I suppose if I am thinking about a bricks level, it may not be getting considered for a milk. So again, if you have a specificity in a food product and you are having a particular standard for a specific group of a food product, then it will be get considered as a vertical standards. So again, if you just consider a compliance with an standard perspective, the standards maybe get categorized again as an international standard, national standards, and company standards. Obviously, whatsoever standards we are following, those have been got formulated and they have been got designed based on the international standards only. So we have some sort of committees who will be just guiding us and just letting us know what should be the particular standard in case of food or any kind of commodity. So we have a Codex Alimentarius Commission which will be just deciding, and the member bodies or the member countries will be just unanimously just considering whether the standard which is at the again science based standard which we should implement it or not. So once it is got unanimously decided, yes, the standards can be get implemented, then the member countries will start utilizing those standards, and eventually India is also a member of Codex Alimentarius Commission, and whatsoever standards what we are having in an FSSAI, they all are complementary with the international standards. So what standards what we are following, or the standards which has been stated or made complementary or maybe an a mandatory standards for us as an a food business operator by an FSSAI, those all standards we consider as an a national standards. Anyhow, sometimes there will be a company standards also. They would be a voluntary standard. The company might be deciding a particular standards for their food product. Generally, they are associated with the quality standard, like their, if I want to make some biscuits or if I want to make some product, what should be the shape of the product, whether it should be round and maybe it in a square. It is not mandatory by an FSSAI that you need to have a biscuit only in a circular shape, isn't it? So it will be get depending upon the company's perspective only. They will decide whether they want to have it in a round or square form. So that is what we need to consider as a company standards. So when it comes towards the compliance or maybe having a safety in your food industry or maybe a quality production in your food industry, you need to abide with the rules and regulation made in the act, which is called as Food Safety and Standard Act. So this act has been got enacted in 2006 and which has been got implemented throughout the country. And for implementing this act throughout the country, the body which we generally called as a food authority, which is FSSAI, that is Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, was got created under this act. So under this body we are having lot of regulatory bodies or the state bodies or maybe the governing bodies and regulatory bodies who will be looking after and regulating the manufacturing, storage, distribution, sales, and imports of the food. So previously there were a lot of rules and regulation associated with the food commodity. It might be a Prevention of Food Adulteration Act. It might be a food product order. Such kind of ambiguity was there, and there was a huge burden on the food processing industry just to comply with different sorts of rules and regulations. So just after that, the government has decided to why not to have a one nation one law kind of a policy, and they have just compiled or repealed all the seven previous acts which were there in a relation with the food commodity, and they have just come up with a single act which is called as Food Safety and Standard Act. So again, if you are not complying with the requirements of the Food Safety and Standard Act, it will be get considered as a non-compliance. And again, if you just consider the cost associated with the non-compliance of the requirements by the act, it is much more dangerous. So again, if you just can see on the slide itself, there will be some sort of punishment if you are just in a business of selling unsafe food. There will be an penalties associated with some sort of unfair means, like if you are selling substandard foods, you have to pay 5 lakh rupees. So these all things are available on the FSSAI website. You can just go through it. So again, when it comes to the implementation of the act, we need to have certain rules and regulation, which will be just acting as a guidelines for the food business operator, so that it will be easy for them also to implement the act. So again, for that, the FSSAI has formulated different sorts of regulation. In and all, there are more than 20 sorts of regulation, some of which I have shown on this particular slide. So again, if you just consider the foremost important regulation is the licensing and registration of food business. You will not be able to run any kind of food business, or whether you might be handling only, or whether you might be storing the food, whether you might be transporting the food. So if you are in a relation with any sort of food business, you need to obtain either a registration for your food business or maybe a license for your food business. So we are eventually going to see in detail about this particular regulation. The second regulation will tell you about what sort of food product you are manufacturing and what sort of standards are associated with those food products, and what are the limits associated with the food additives that you will be able to use when you are manufacturing such products. So that will be get covered under the regulation called Food Product Standards and Food Additives Regulation. Then again, you will be having a lot of different sorts of regulation. If you just consider, previously there was a regulation called Packaging and Labeling Regulation, but it has been got again recently bifurcated into two different or two separate regulation. Now one has been called as a packaging regulation, and another one is called as labeling and display regulation, where you need to think about what sort of packaging I should use, or with what sort of packaging you should not be able to use. So there are some sort of standards associated with the packaging material also. That is what we call as an IS standards for packaging material. You will be able to see the different sorts of packaging material, which commodity you will be able to pack in what sort of packaging material, and what are the standards associated with the packaging material. You can just go through it in a packaging regulation. In case of labeling, you will be able to get to know what I should be able to print on my label of the packaged food product. So if we just go through the regulation, which is called as Food Product Standards and Food Additives Regulation, as I already told, you will be able to know that what product it is all about, and what is the definition, how that product should look like, what it should contain, what is the chemical nature of that food product. So again, these are all considered as an standards for your food product. So again, if you are into a business of manufacturing a refined sugar, so whatever sugar you are manufacturing, it should not exceed the moisture content above 0.5%. So it should be always less than that. The sucrose content should not be less than 99.5%. So depending upon the commodity what you are just manufacturing, different sorts of standards are associated, and those all standards are being represented in this particular regulation. So again, if you just consider in case of sweetening agent, including honey, which is under the regulation 2.8. Under that, we have a regulation 2.8.1, which is dealing with the sugar, where we can find out lot of different types of sugars are being get manufactured in India, and the standards associated with each and every commodity or maybe the product are literally different. So you can't claim like you are manufacturing refined sugar, but you are just selling it in the name of something else. It should not happen. Eventually, sometimes it will be get analyzed if it is literally complying with the standards, and if you are just claiming yes it is a refined sugar only, then it is okay. But if it is not conforming to the standards which has been got stated in this regulation, then you need to pay some sort of penalties, or maybe a punishment will be get offended. Then again, in case of 2.8.4, you will be able to get to know the standards associated with good and jaggery. In case of 2.3.45, you will be able to get to know the standards associated with grated desiccated coconut. In case of cashew nuts or maybe the nuts and raisins or the dry fruits, you will be able to get to know the standards in section 2.3.47. So in case of beverages, it has been given. For tea, it is in 2.10.1. I will not go in detail again because I'm again running out of a time. So again, if you see in this particular slide, I have represented some images like Darjeeling, Nilgiri. So these images are again a representation of a particular tea. If you are just manufacturing that particular tea, then only you will be able to use it. But again, whenever you are going to use this particular logo on your packaging material, you need to take a prior permission of Tea Board. Then only then an approval has to be get sought from the Tea Board of India. Then again, in case of beverages, 2.10.2 is dealing with a coffee. So again, I think the previous speaker has already covered this particular thing. Like now you have a stickers which you can just have as a logo in on your package if you are just in a business of a particular type of or maybe a variety of coffee manufacturing business. So again, in an FSSAI, we have a limits associated with a roasted coffee and a ground coffee. And again, we have a limits for soluble coffee powder. So again, NMT and NLT is only a short form that I have generated. NMT is nothing but the not more than percentage, and again NLT is not less than percentage. This is just to concise the content on the slide, nothing else. So again, in case of 2.2, you will be able to get a standards associated with fat oils and fat emulsions, under which 2.2.4 is dealing with an edible fat. Again, under that, if you go with the product number 5, which is dealing with the cocoa butter, so again, in case of cocoa butter, where the melting point is much more important factor that will decide its acceptability. So such kind of factors you will be able to get to know. So after knowing all these parameters, once you evaluate the quality of cocoa butter, what you are getting, if you just analyze, and if they are complying with these particular standards, then it is okay. Has not been again adulterated with something else. But if it is not meeting the standard requirements, obviously something fishy is there, something has been got added, or it may not be a cocoa butter, it may be a something else, or maybe a vegetable fat also. So just to have a fair practices and a fair business in the food industry, there are a different sets of limits and standards which has been got stated by a government of India under this Food Safety and Standard Act that we need to abide. So again, in case of list of food additives which can be get used in case of cocoa powder, it has been got represented. The same list you will be able to get to know in this particular regulation only. In an appendix A, you will be able to find out different sorts of food additives which are possibly get used in the food processing industry. And in case of like table 4A and 4B, you will be able to get to know the microbial standards associated with your food product. So what is the limit for a particular aerobic plate count? What is the limit for a yeast and mold count? So again, those microbial standards has been again got categorized into two sections. One is the process hygiene criteria, which will tell you about the hygienic environment in your food processing. So that's why we call them as a process hygiene criteria, which will include some sort of microorganism like aerobic plate count, yeast and mold count, enterobacteriaceae, staphylococcus aureus, which are not at least not that much deadliest, but again, if it is exceeding a particular limit, they are also harmful for the human being. But in case of second category, which is called as food safety category, so generally those are literally risky for human beings. So if you just consider the microorganism which comes under this particular category as salmonella, then Vibrio, then Listeria, E. coli. These are very deadliest microorganisms. So you may have come across with some sort of food poisoning issues, or maybe a food poisoning news, which will be just in a relation with such kind of microorganism. So again, their presence and their limit is again stated in this particular regulation. In case of Salmonella and Listeria, they should be always present in a food product. So again, when we think about meeting these requirements, you won't be able to do it in a overnight. You need to have a something system inbuilt in your industry, and that is what we called as food safety management system. Just to have a quality, you need to inbuilt a quality management system. Just to have a safety in your food business, you need to implement food safety management system. So this food safety management system, or maybe a food quality management system, will be always based on the HACCP, that is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, and the prerequisite programs, which are the preliminary requirements that will tell you whether the business what you are doing is a good enough or not. So the PRPs, that is prerequisite programs, can be a GMP, which is good manufacturing practices, or it might be a GHP, it might be a GLP, depending upon the what activity you are concerning under this PRP. The uh, activity or maybe the practices what you need to follow just to have a fair business in the industry, that will be just get decided. So again, once you think about running an industry, or again in case of licensing and registration of food business regulation, it is very much mandatory by a food business. See, eventually if you want to have a license or a registration of your food business, you need to have a fair business, isn't it? So again, the thing is, if you want to have a good business out of it and you want to get the license for your business, eventually you need to have an implemented FSMS plan. So again, that is a mandatory requirement by government. So again, in case of licensing and registration of food business regulation, you have Schedule 4, which will be covering all the points dealing with this food safety management system. So when we think about the Schedule 4, which will be just telling about the general hygienic and sanitary practices that needs to be get followed by a food business operator when they are thinking to have a license or business there for their food businesses, or when they are into a business of food manufacturing or any kind of activity in which food is being get handled. So again, the Schedule 4 has been got again categorized into five parts. So So part 1 is dealing with the petty food business operator who are just going to have a registration for their food businesses. So again, what hygienic and sanitary practices they need to follow in their food business are given under part 1. In case of part 2, the food businesses who are willing to obtain a license for their food businesses are given in part 2. In case of part 3 and 4, they are much more specific requirements associated with a specific sector of a food industry. So in case of part 3, it is a specific requirement associated with a industry who is into an processing, storing and selling of milk and milk product. In case of part 4, it is in a relation with the specific requirements associated with processing, storing and selling of meat and meat product. These two commodities are much more perishable in a nature and the risk associated is much more higher. That's why some special requirements are associated with them. In case of our area of interest, that is the post harvest management system, anyhow it will be get included in a part 2 only, where all the remaining food businesses will get categorized. So once you think about the schedule 4 implementation or just complying with the requirements of schedule 4, few of the points which are very much important that you need to comply with I have depicted on this particular slide. First one is the location and surrounding, what should be there and what should not be there that has been got shown in the image. So the in first image, if you can see, there is some dust or maybe some smoke is going over and here and there. So if you are just residing your industry in this particular location, anyhow it is not recommended. You should not have your plant where the polluted air is there, dust and sooty phlegm are all there. So all these things you need to avoid. You need to have a setup of your food industry where no obnoxious fumes are being get generated and that is not going to enter in your food processing. So if you can just see in the second image, the sky is much more clear, the pollution limit, like in this image, if it is looking like the pollution is much more less, here you can just have your food business. In case of second, it is floor, ceiling and walls. It should not be like flaky wall, like the color and paints are not getting fallen down on the ground and they should not get enter in your food product. So again, a proper coloring and maybe a cementing of a wall should be there. The flooring should be epoxy coated. The doors and fixtures should be properly maintained. So all these things you need to have in your food business. So again, the plant premises, it should be clean. The exterior of the premises should be always clean. It should be well cemented. It should have a good drainage facility. Then the windows, what where the possibly the entries of paste and maybe some rodents, it is possible, or maybe some birds may come into your industry. So all those has to be get well fitted with some sort of wire niche. So again, in case of equipment and containers, the equipment should be made up of a food grade material only. Generally, we prefer a stainless steel of a food grade 304 or 316 because they are much more rust free. They will not get corroded. They are non-toxic in nature. So again, such kind of material you need to have. Again, they should be easy to clean. There should not be any grooves and scratch on the surface. So again, you need to have a cleaning and sanitation facility. You need to have a good water supply available with you. You need to have a color coding of crossing over pipelines, like if it is a domestic water, whether it is a hot water, whether it is a wastewater, so that you will get to know which line is going with the what water content. The lighting should be much more enough so that the workers will work in a good proper environment. The lighting should be always get covered so that there should not be any accident by falling a tube lights or maybe a bulb on the floor, and someone should not get harm associated with it. Then in case of personal hygiene, you need to provide a protective gears or maybe a protective clothing to the person who is in a business of food handling. So again, if the person is having wounds on their hand, they should be always covered or they should not touch to the food product. Eventually, there should not be any dirt associated on their clothes because they are again going to contaminate your food product. So when you think about a personal hygiene, there are certain do's and don'ts which are there that you can just go through it. Eventually, in case of personal hygiene, when you are just going to have a contact of your bare hand with the food product, always you need to have an habit of washing the hand properly. So again, the images are depicting how you need to wash your hand. It's not like that only just placing your hand under the running tap water for 1 or 2 seconds. It's not like that. Eventually there are some specific steps that you need to follow when you are into an food business. Then you need to have a proper cleaning and maintenance plan with you, a CIP plan with you. You need to think at what interval you are going to clean your industry, at what time you are going to have a maintenance for your food industry. That particular plan you need to have. You need to have a pest controlling plan also. You need to have a rodent traps inbuilt, maybe a fly squat you need to inbuild, so that there will not be any entry of the flies or maybe a rodent in an industry, which may be a way of contaminating your food products. So again, you need to have always a maintenance of your transportation. The container should be clean and sufficient enough for storage and transportation of a food product. Then you need to have a control of operation. See, whatsoever you are manufacturing first has to be get sold first. That is what we called as FIFO system. That is first in, first out. Whatsoever raw material come first, it has to be get processed first. Whatever you are processing first has to go and sell in a first way. You need to have a proper disposal system also. It should be get color coded so as to have a good segregation of the waste material. Then in case of product information and consumer awareness, whatever the product you are packing in a packaging material, the label should inform to the customer how you have to treat with the product, how it is going to benefit you, so that they will get to know what the product they are purchasing. So in and all, there are more than 14 points which are much more mandatory to be get printed on the label of any processed or packaged product, like the list of ingredients in a descending amount, name and description of the food product, vegetarian or non-vegetarian logo, nutritional information including the RDA level, then the instruction to use and store. Sometimes you may miss the instruction to use on the label and you will mishandle the product. And again, you may say like the product is not at all good enough. It is getting decomposed very easily, but you might have missed how to store it, whether there is any recommendation for its storage or not, that you need to read it. Then the manufacturing address and the customer care number has to be there. Then the FSSAI logo and the license number has to be get printed. If it is a registration, then you can just have a logo along with the registration number. The net content of the product which has been got packed, that has to be get printed on it. Then the batch number, manufacturing date, expiry date has to be there, which is a recent addition in the regulation, that now you need to have a expiry date printed on your label. Again, you need to have an allergen management system, which let you know like that, that has to be get printed on the label, like this additives declaration and maybe allergen declaration has to be there on the label, so that if somebody is having an allergen associated, if somebody is associated with an allergen present in a food product, eventually they will not purchase it. So again, you need to have a declaration again associated with an allergen. Then again, if we just go through it, like a licensing and registration of food business regulation, which is making a mandatory thing that every food business operator should either obtain a registration or license. So in and all, if you just consider the license or maybe a registration, there will be a basic registration for the food business operator who are having an annual turnover less than 12 lakh rupees. So if your business is not exceeding the limit of 12 lakh rupees turnover, you need to obtain only registration. For that purpose, you need to apply through Form A. In case of food businesses where the business turnover is exceeding 12 lakh rupees, you need to obtain license. So it might be a state license or it might be a central license. Again, that depends upon the way of making a business or the kind of business that you are holding. So if you are willing to obtain a license, either a state or maybe a central, you need to fill Form B. So again, in case of licensing and registration, what are the charges or maybe the fees that you need to pay when you are applying for it? In case of registration, if you are willing to apply for a registration for 1 year, it is 100 rupees, and you will be able to have a registration max to max 5 years only. The validity you can just extend up to 5 years. Then you can just issue a license for your food business also. It might be a state license. The charges or maybe the fee associated may range from 2000 to 7,500, which is for central licensing. You can just update the license also. Sometimes if you are having added products in with you, or you are thinking to expand your business and add few more products into it, that has to be get added in your license, or it has to be get made informed to the FSSAI authority. So again, you can just have a duplicate copy of your license also. So when you think to have an application for a license or registration, you need to log into the First Cost website, which is a portal by FSSAI, which is a single window system through which you can just apply for this matter. So again, you can just see through this particular, which is a screenshot of that particular web portal. So again, you can see the standardized product list. You will be able to fetch out, like there will be a PDF through which you can just check what are the different sorts of food products that again we have seen in case of food product standards and food additives regulation. So similar food products will be get categorized. You will be able to know whether my product is coming under which category and what sort of rules and regulation I am abide of, that you will be able to get to know. Then again, you can just check the eligibility of food business, whether you want to apply for license or food business, that also you can check it. Again, you can see some 3 points like apply for new license and registration. If you click on it, you will get led towards application procedure. You can renew your license, you can modify your license. Again, now recently the modification process has become very faster, so you can just have your modification. If it is like a modification in terms of food product addition, which are again coming under the standardized food product list, the modification eventually will happen within a day also, or maybe within a 2 days. So again, this much fast and this much ease in an application is there that you can just utilize. So if you just go at the bottom of that web page, you will be able to get to know what are the documents required when you want to apply for license and registration. So for applying for new license, if you need to apply registration, then you can just click on this new registration. You will be able to get to know the documents required for that matter. Then again, if you just click on the apply for new license and registration tab that we have seen in the previous slide, you will get led to this particular page where you have three squares. One is red, another one is green, and another one is sky blue. So again, in case if you want to apply for, see, whatsoever businesses now we are thinking under the PMFME scheme, they are coming under like a very micro level enterprises. So anyhow, they will not be going in a green or maybe an sky blue color zone. So again, you have to click on the red box only, which is a general category food business. So once you click on it, you will get led towards this again another page where you have to select the premises or the location where you want to start your food business. So again, that will be a state, maybe a Maharashtra, maybe a Tamil Nadu, maybe a Rajasthan, where you are going to start your food business, that you have to select from a drop down list of the states which are there in an India. So once you select it, then you have to select a kind of business, whether it is a manufacturing, whether it is only a trade and retailing of a food business or what. So in our case, we are thinking, in case of micro enterprises, we are thinking about manufacturing business. So in case of manufacturing, again, you will find out number of businesses, maybe like a dairy unit, vegetable oil and processing unit, slaughtering unit, general manufacturing. So whatsoever category is suitable for your food business, you have to select that one. So again, we will select now, for the sake of understanding the procedure, the general manufacturing sector. So if you click and enlarge the view of general manufacturing window, you will be able to see the again the general manufacturing business has been categorized based on their capacity, or based on their turnover. So again, if you see at the very bottom, the turnover not exceeding 12 lakh rupees. If you click on that business and if you proceed for the application, you will get led towards a window like you will be get to know the eligibility of food business, whether you need to have a registration or license. So as we have already seen, like if the business is coming under 12 lakh rupees capacity, then eventually you need to only apply for registration of food business. So again, if you just click on the another categories of food business, like more than 2 metric ton, or maybe the capacity up to 2 metric ton per day, and if you just proceed on it, then you will be able to get to know like the eligibility now has been got changed, and now you need to apply for licenses. So it might be either a state license or it might be a central license, depending upon the kind of business. So again, as I told you, in case of registration, you need to apply through a form A. You have to fill all the details which are there in a form A. You have to pay the prerequisite fee, that is 100 rupees, if you wish to pay have a license for, or maybe a registration for 1 year only. Once you proceed it, your application will get processed by the FSSAI, and eventually you will get an application number, a 14-digit application number, using which you will be able to track your application, and your license will get reflected. Once it is get approved by an FSSAI, the license will get reflected on your account in the window itself or in the system itself, and eventually you can just download it and print it and place it in your premises. And again, it is a very mandatory like whatsoever license or registration you are holding for your food business, it has to be get represented at the premises, very well visible to each and everybody who is going to visit your industry. So again, in case of state license, you need to apply through Form B, which will be requiring to fill premises details, then the product selection, what are the products you are going to manufacture in your food business, that has to be get selected, then the communication details, then required documents, what we have seen in case of document required list, you can just upload the documents, and the payments associated with your license that you need to pay and you need to apply for license. So as I told you, once applying for license or registration, you will obtain a 14 digit application number. Sometimes you once the application get accepted, you will get a registration number also and a license number also. But if at an immediate response, when you apply for license and registration, you will only get application number, by using which you will be able to log in into your account and you will be able to get to know whether the license has been got granted or not. So when you think about having a food business, you need to think about complying with lot of requirements associated by the Food Safety and Standard Act. So I hope I have covered the points which are very much required for a food business operator, just to have a fair business and just to have a fair manufacturing business in a food industry. So thank you once again for the organizers for having me for this session.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative session. I hope everyone know about what is FSI and what rules and regulation we need to follow in the food section. Thank you all the speakers to attend for come and to come in the session and share your knowledge to everyone. And now I would like to conclude remarks and vote of thanks. Thank you all of the speakers and participants for joining the session. I hope from this webinar you will get the valuable knowledge and ideas for startup and business. On the behalf of Nifton Thanjavur and PMFME team, I formally announce that the webinar is over. Thank you all for joining with us. Thank you.